Namaste. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. We are going to continue with not the last episode yet of the Ramayana, if you were thinking that. So we're going to continue where we left off yesterday, and that is where there is a plan to cross the ocean, and there's Rama got advice from the god of the ocean, Samudra, to have Nala in charge of building a bridge. And he says, if you let him build a bridge, then I will see to it that it doesn't sink or fall apart while the army is crossing. So Rama called Nala, who immediately agreed to construct the bridge. Before starting the construction, Rama made a beautiful lingam of Lord Shiva and worshipped it, asking Shiva to bless him with success. And he makes this lingam of sand. The place where Rama installed the lingam is known as Rameshwaram, and it is a famous place of worship even to this day. Directed by Nala, the monkeys collected material for the construction. They uprooted trees and brought huge boulders. Rocks as large as hills were carried on their willing shoulders. Hanuman also joined and repeated the magic mantra of Rama over every stone and boulder, and the work went on with great speed and enthusiasm. The bridge was 100 leagues long and 10 wide. 1/5 was built on the first day, and construction was completed in 5 days. Rama and Lakshman sat on the shore and watched the work. It is said that a squirrel who wanted to help Rama used to wet his fur, roll in the sand, and then go and shake off the dust on the bridge, since that was the only contribution he was capable of making. The monkeys made fun of him. The squirrel got frightened and sad, and went and nestled close to Rama, who took him on his lap and comforted him by passing his 3 fingers down his back. It is said that to this day the squirrel bears the mark of Rama's fingers on his back. Rama calmed his fears and told him that his tiny efforts were as valuable to him as the gigantic achievements of the monkeys. The sand he had brought was as precious to Rama as the rocks of the monkeys. Thus, the little squirrel also found a place in Rama's heart. At last, the causeway was completed. Rama was the first to set foot on it, then came Lakshman, and then Sugriva. The rest of the monkeys followed, dancing with joy. Sometimes they would jump into the sea and swim for a while, and sometimes they would walk on the bridge. It was as if the sea held its breath while the army crossed. Finally, they set foot on enemy territory. Rama told Lakshman and Sugriva to make preparations for camp. The sun had set and the moon had just risen as the army settled down for the night. Rama was touched by the devotion of the monkeys and their innocent love. Rama looked up at the city of Ravana and thought of his beloved Janaki, who was a prisoner of love. He stood gazing at Lanka for a long time, lost in thought. At last, he went to talk to the commanders about their plan of action. A spy whom Ravana had sent returned and told Ravana all the news. This sea, which has never been crossed, has now been crossed by Rama's army with ease, and they have camped on the southern shore. You should either return Sita to him immediately, or else prepare for a mighty battle. Ravana was furious. He thought of another way to torture Sita. He asked a magician to make a realistic head of Rama with an arrow stuck in it, in order to frighten Sita. He marched to the grove where she was sitting, plunged in sorrow, her mind absorbed with thoughts of Rama, eyes cast down and filled with bitter drops. Ravana approached her. It is high time you forgot that useless husband of yours, O Sita, for I am sorry to tell you that he is no more. He has been killed by me. I have brought Rama's head to convince you. Rama's head, stuck on a pole, was placed before Sita. Ravana whispered, "Now, will you agree to be mine?" Sita gave one look at the head and shrieked, "Oh, my beloved, why have you deserted me?" Ravana watched with keen anticipation, hoping that in her sorrow she would turn to him, but she did not even notice him. Just then, news was brought to him that his presence was urgently needed in the council chamber. Ravana left immediately. As soon as he had gone, the magic head vanished, much to Sita's amazement. Just then, the wife of Bibhishana, who was fond of Sita, came and told her about Ravana's foul plan to dupe her. "Don't fear, Sita. Rama can never be killed. Your husband and brother are in good health, and they are camping at the foot of the hill, ready to attack." Just as she was saying this, the trumpets blared, calling all Rakshasas to assemble for the fight. Arming themselves with sticks, stones, rocks and trees, the monkeys, led by Rama, proceeded towards the city and took up the positions which had been decided for them. Rama decided to send a messenger to Ravana to make a last bid for peace. Calling Angada, he ordered him to go and talk to Ravana. "Tell him that I said, I have come to punish you for stealing my wife. But even at this last moment, I would like to give you a chance. If you agree to return Sita to me, I will stop the war. If not, it will be a fight to the finish." and it will end in the extermination of the whole Rakshasa race. Angada leaped into the sky and reached the conference hall where Ravana was sitting. Boldly, he walked in and gave his message. The infuriated Ravana ordered his ministers to capture the monkey and beat him to death. Angada jumped onto the terrace, shook them off, and returned to Rama. War was now inevitable. Ravana had been given his last and final chance. The army marched up to the city. And then the mighty battle starts. As I said before, I am leaving out some of the text here and there to make it a little bit easier to listen to, and especially here I skip a lot of the gory details, let's say. The monkey army now charged the eastern gate of Lanka. The Rakshasa army ably defended their stronghold, and the first day's fight continued into the night. Indrajit, Ravana's son, was a master magician. After having almost defeated Angada, he leaped into the air. He sent the deadly Nagapasa, with which he bound the two brothers, who had already been badly wounded by him. Rama fell to the ground in a faint, and Lakshman followed suit. They lay on their bed of suffering, drenched in blood, with hardly any signs of life. Sugriva got desperate when he saw Rama and Lakshman in this state. But Bibhishana comforted him, saying, "Take it from me that they are not dead. It is only a temporary faint. Let us chant some mantras, and they will wake up." In the meantime, Indrajit had gone back to the city and gave the news to his father that he had killed his two enemies. Ravana was overjoyed and blessed his son. That night, the whole of Lanka slept peacefully. In the morning, Ravana sent for the Rakshasis who were looking after Sita and told them to tell her that her husband lay dead on the battlefield. Since she wouldn't be convinced by mere talk, he told them to take her in his aerial vehicle, called the Pushpaka, and let her see the battlefield from the air and observe the body of her husband. The Rakshasis forced Sita to get into the vehicle and took her over the battlefield, where she saw for herself the devastation in the monkey army. In the midst of the sea of corpses, of dead and dying monkeys, she suddenly spied her beloved husband and his brother lying on a bed of arrow, their bodies bleeding and inert. She could no longer see clearly due to the tears which were flowing from her eyes. For some time the shock made her absolutely silent, but then she started to moan and bewail her fate. One of the Rakshasis, who was kinder than the rest and had befriended Sita before, now comforted her with these words. "My lady, please do not weep. Rama is not dead. Neither of them is dead. See how the monkeys are guarding their bodies. They appear to be waiting for them to recover. So forget this sorrow and take heart. Sita was thrilled to hear this. She observed the two carefully and confirmed what was said by the kindly Rakshasi. She then returned. Slowly, after some time had passed, the Nagapasa ceased to have effect, and Rama came too. At this moment, when all of them were sitting and crying around the fallen princess, Sugriva's court physician came and said, "Once, long ago, when the gods and the demons were fighting, the gods were struck down in a similar fashion. But their guru revived them with special herbs. These herbs are known as Sanjiva Karani, capable of healing all wounds inflicted by weapons. Let Hanuman be sent to get them." Lakshman is still unconscious. Suddenly, Garuda, the king of birds, vehicle of Vishnu, cleaved his way through the sky. He was the bitter enemy of all snakes, and as soon as he appeared, the snake noose which had bound the two brothers started loosening its deathly hold on them. As Garuda came nearer, they were released completely, and Lakshman too stirred as if from sleep. Garuda now came close to them and stroked their faces lovingly with his wings, and instantly their wounds vanished and luster returned to their faces. Garuda embraced them warmly. Rama said, "When you caressed me with your wings, I felt as if my father was touching me. Because of you, we have been saved. Tell me who you are." The bird said, "I am Garuda, and I am your constant companion. I am your vehicle, and will always be hovering around you, even when you are not aware of it. I am the only one who could have saved you from this noose made of snakes. Rama, fear not. You and your brother are destined to destroy your enemies and have a glorious future. Your strength lies in sticking to Dharma, and you will be victorious. Now, give me leave to go. Whenever you need me, just think of me, and I'll be there." Witnessing the miraculous recovery of the brothers, the monkeys chattered with delight. They jumped up and down with joy. Ravana heard these sounds and was puzzled. How can they be so joyous when Rama lies dead, he thought. He ordered his spies to go and find out the truth, and was amazed when they returned with the news of Rama's miraculous recovery. Now Ravana sent another battalion, led by the terrible warrior called Dumarksha, but he was killed by Hanuman. Ravana could not believe that his favorite commander had been killed. He decided that it was time that he himself entered the arena. Ravana arranged his army carefully and then plunged into battle. Hanuman rushed towards Ravana and said, "You have been granted many boons, but none which will protect you from monkeys. Now, allow my right hand to teach you a well-deserved lesson." Ravana was furious when he heard this. "I will give you the opportunity of winning everlasting fame by hitting me, just once, and then I'll kill you." Hanuman punched him on his chest, and Ravana reeled under the blow. He admired Hanuman's strength, but didn't wait for more. Ravana then directed his fury against the approaching Lakshman. Ravana was compelled to use the Shakti weapon given to him by Brahma. He hurled it at Lakshman, who fell down in a swoon. Hanuman came and struck Ravana down from his chariot, and before he could recover from the blow, carried Lakshman back to Rama. As soon as he reached Rama, the Shakti weapon left his side and returned to Ravana, and Lakshman was his old self. Now Rama decided that it was high time for him to enter the battle. Since Ravana was fighting from a chariot and Rama from the ground, he went into battle on Hanuman's shoulder. At last the two came face to face. Neither could help admiring the other, but Rama said, "You think you are a hero, yet you have behaved as no hero would behave. You deserve nothing but death, and I will see that you get it." Rama broke Ravana's chariot and wounded his horses and charioteer. Another arrow to Ravana's chest made him reel, and still another knocked off his golden crown, which rolled in the dust. Rama took pity on Ravana and said, "You have acted in an unforgivable manner, yet I see that you are very tired, so I will refrain from killing you now. Go home and rest, and return with another bow and chariot. Then I'll show you what I'm capable of." Ravana returned to Lanka, ashamed, filled with wrath against Rama, and determined to kill him at all costs. Ravana was completely demoralized by this scene. Far from appreciating Rama's generosity in letting him go, he was filled with humiliation and thought of revenge. So then his son Indrajit bows low before his father and goes back to the battlefield into his chariot, followed by a mighty army. Indrajit began raining arrows over the monkey army, who began to fall by the thousands. The whole field was filled with dead and dying monkeys. Most of the time they could not see where he was. How could they fight with an invisible enemy? One by one, all the great heroes except for Hanuman and Jambavan were all killed. Again, even Rama and Lakshman succumbed this time to Indrajit's fatal arrows. Indrajit went back, well pleased with his day's work. After a long time, Vibhishana regained consciousness and painfully dragged himself to Jambavan and asked him what they should do now. Jambavan was badly wounded, but his first question was about Hanuman. When he heard that Hanuman was fine, he said, "Now there is nothing to worry about." Calling Hanuman, he said, "O Hanuman, you are the only one who can save the lives of the brothers, as well as the lives of all the Vanaras. Go immediately to the golden peak on the mountain called Himavan, which is rich in herbs, and bring back the 4 magic herbs. One will bring the dead back to life. Another will heal all wounds, and the other 2 will reset fractured bones and give a glow to the skin." Hanuman grew in size and flew off into the sky with his face turned to the north. Flying smoothly, he soon reached the peak spoken of by Jambavan, but search as he might, he did not find the herbs which he was looking for. Hanuman decided to take the entire mountain. He uprooted it and sailed across the sky with the peak in his hands, and soon reached Lanka. But there was no place to put it down, so he flew close to the battlefield below. The air was filled with the intoxicating perfume of the magic herbs, and Rama and Lakshman woke up after inhaling the fragrance. The rest of the monkeys also woke up after inhaling the fragrance of the herbs. All of them appear to be in better condition now than they were before. Hanuman returned the peak to its original place in the Himalayas and then returned to Rama. In the next chapter, Indrajit, who had gone back to the city, returned with another chariot. The battle raged on furiously. At last, Lakshman took out the arrow given to him by the sage Agastya and charged it with the power of Indra and prayed to the weapon, "If Rama, the son of Dasarath, is truly a Dharma Atman, if it is true that he has ever been truthful, then let this arrow kill Indrajit, the son of Ravana." So saying, he let fly the mantra-charged arrow at Indrajit. It flew like a streak of lightning, straight to its target. And before Indrajit could counter it with one of his own, it neatly cut off his handsome head, so that it fell to the ground like a golden lotus. Like the bright sun setting behind the hills lay the head of Ravana's glorious son. The Vanara army set up a roar of victory. The Rakshasa army fled to the city, leaving their weapons behind. When Ravana heard of the death of the beloved son Indrajit, he moaned, "There was no one like you in the whole world." You could defeat every enemy you encountered, yet you have been killed by, by a human being. How is it possible? Without you, this entire earth seems to be an empty place. Life has lost its charm for me. Oh Indrajit, why did you have to die? He forgot that he was the sole cause for the destruction of all of his sons. For the last time, Ravana climbed up to the ramparts of his castle and sang the Samaveda hymns in which he was an expert, and by singing which he had once pleased Shiva. The whole of nature seemed to be providing an accompaniment for his chants, with the sighing of the wind, the lashing of the waves, and the eerie creaking of the trees, as they swayed to and fro in tune with the rhythm of his song. Rama heard it down below and watched fascinated as Ravana's mighty figure swayed and danced to his own music. Eventually, with the approach of midnight, the night of the new moon, the wind dropped, the waves calmed down, and Ravana came down for his final battle. For the first time, there was a tinge of fear in Ravana's voice as he ordered the last of his generals to get ready for the battle, for he had decided to go himself and avenge the death of all of his loved ones. His divine chariot was brought to the gate, and Ravana leaped into it like a tiger. He chose to take the fifth gate, the gate of illusion, and rose up like a black swan into the sky. Ravana fought like one possessed. Slowly it dawned on Ravana that fate seemed to be siding with Rama, or else how could this have happened to him? He who was considered invincible in all of the three worlds. Ravana ordered his charioteer to take him immediately to where Rama was. Rama was happy to encounter him. He had been waiting for him all these days. It was a glorious meeting. It is said that even the gods came to watch. Both were well versed in the art of warfare. The rest of the army stopped all their individual fights and came to watch this magnificent fight. A fierce battle began between the two. And then at some point, Rama sends his golden-tipped arrow, given to him by Agastya, straight at Ravana's heart. It was the most powerful weapon known to man or God, and very few human beings were initiated into its mysteries, for its power was so great that no one who had not learned to control himself could use it. The arrow was made of the essence of all the elements, flaming like the fire of universal destruction and as fatal as the end of time. The arrow fled from Rama's bow like a streak of lightning and found its mark in Ravana's chest. As soon as he was struck, his body, full of splendor, fell like a thunderbolt from the chariot. A shower of flowers streamed from the sky, and the sun came out from behind the clouds. Ravana's life was fast ebbing away. The mighty king of the Rakshasas, who had ruled the entire world with the power of his arms alone, now lay dead on the battlefield. Though he had been a great hero, because of his lust for a woman, he now lay dead. Mandodari, foremost queen of Ravana, mother of the brave Indrajit, now came running to the battlefield, her face wet with tears. How is it possible for a mortal to have killed you? This Rama must be divine. I know now who Rama is. He is Lord Narayana himself, the Supreme Soul. My Lord, it is Narayana who has killed you, not a human being. Once upon a time, you performed a lot of austerities with your senses under perfect control. And now, those senses, like untamed horses, have dragged you to your death. Sita is a noble lady, devoted to her husband. She should have been honored by you, but instead you chose to insult her. Her tears of shame and despair have killed you, and not Rama's arrows. What does she have that I lack? In beauty, she is in no way superior. Yet, blinded by lust, you chose to carve out your dreadful end. You brought death to yourself the day you brought Sita to Lanka. Sita will now be reunited with her lord and will live happily, while I will be plunged into sorrow without you. Mandodari fainted over the body of her husband, and the other women had to carry her away. Rama told Bibhishana to set about the task of cremating Ravana. Bibhishana touched the earthly remains of his brother with a flaming torch and set fire to it. Rama then asked Lakshman and Sugriva to take Bibhishana to the city and crown him as emperor of Lanka. The next chapter is called Trial by Fire. Turning to Hanuman, Rama told him to go to the grove of Ashoka trees where Sita was sitting and give her the happy tidings. When he entered the grove, Hanuman found Sita in the same sad pose as she had been when he first saw her. A picture of despair and sorrow. For no one had told her of the happenings on the battlefield. Hanuman went and stood beside her with folded palms and said, "My lady, I have come with happy news. Rama has killed Ravana, and Bibhishana has been crowned king of Lanka. He has asked me to bring these happy tidings to you. Sita was speechless with joy. Tears of happiness rolled from her eyes. Hanuman spoke respectfully. My lady, believe me, I have spent sleepless nights thinking of your pathetic condition, and now it is my luck that I have been chosen by our Lord to bring you this joyous news. I ask your permission to do one more thing. Let me kill all these Rakshasis who have been harassing you for so long. Sita smiled and said, Dear Hanuman, they were only servants obeying their master. Why should you kill them? Everyone has to reap the fruits of their past actions. I must have done something in my past life to deserve this punishment. My role is to show compassion and mercy to all, even if they are sinners. To err is human. Go and tell my husband that I am eagerly awaiting his arrival. Hanuman bowed humbly and departed. He told Rama the whole story of his meeting with Sita and said that she was anxiously waiting for him. Rama's eyes filled with tears when he heard this, but he remained sunk in thought for a while. At last, he told Bibhishana to ask Sita to have an auspicious bath and to clothe herself and then come to him. So Sita dressed herself in silks and jewels and came to Rama. He was lost in thought, sitting with eyes fixed on the ground. The monkeys crowded around. Bibhishana pushed them back and ordered them to go away, since Rama would want to see Sita alone. Rama said, Let them stay where they are and see her if they wish. Lakshman was puzzled by Rama's strange behavior. He was sure that something was bothering him. Bibhishana went and led Sita to where Rama was waiting. Sita felt as if her legs would collapse, and she shrank into herself. Covering her face with her upper cloth, she came near Rama and whispered breathlessly, My lord. Tears choked her, and she could not utter another word. Shyly, she looked up at him, and her thirsty eyes drank in his beauty. Rama averted his face and spoke in an unusually harsh tone. I have accomplished what I set out to do. I have wiped out the insult which was offered to me and killed the one who abducted you. Sita had been waiting for a year for this moment, when her beloved husband would come and rescue her, and take her in his arms, and comfort her, and make her forget all the trials which she had gone through. She couldn't understand why Rama, who had never spoken harshly to her at any time, was now using this tone of voice. She looked at him with eyes slowly filling with tears, and Rama's heart was torn with sympathy and love. But he knew that he had to clear her name before the public. I belong to a noble house, he said, and it does not befit me to take you back. You have lived for nearly a year in the house of a notorious womanizer. Do you expect me to believe that he could refrain from ravishing you? You, who are so lovely and alluring? I cannot take you back. You are now free to go where you wish, O Janaki. I can no longer bear to look at you. Hearing these cruel words coming from the mouth of her husband, Sita swayed. Tears streamed from her eyes now, and she looked like a wilting flower. She had thought her heart had broken when she had been abducted by Ravana, but now she realized that it was nothing compared to this. At last, she said, "Why do you speak such harsh words to me? If you doubted me, why did you send Hanuman to search for me? You risked your life and the life of all your friends by coming here. You could have saved yourself a lot of trouble. If I had been touched by that sinner once, it was because I was too weak and helpless to protect myself. How can you blame me for that? My thoughts and love have never strayed from you, for even a moment. Does my love mean nothing to you? If that is so, why did you come?" She then turned to Lakshman and said, "I have been falsely accused, and I don't want to live anymore. There is only one place that I can go, and that is the heart of a fire." Sita circumambulated Rama and went towards the blazing fire. Standing with folded palms before it, she said, "If it is true that my thoughts have been set on Rama, then let this fire, who is the witness to all minds, protect me. My husband thinks I am tainted. If I am innocent, so may the God of fire protect me. If I have never been unfaithful to Rama in thought, word, or deed, let the God of fire protect me." So saying, she went around the fire once and then flung herself into the heart. Sita glowed like gold in the midst of the fire. Rama stood as if carved of stone, with face turned to the ground. Though his heart was breaking, he did not do anything to save her who was dearer to him than his own life. At that moment, the celestials came down and spoke to Rama. "Don't you know that you are Narayana and Sita is Lakshmi, your eternal consort? You are Vishnu, and you were born to destroy Ravana. Now your task is accomplished and Dharma is saved." Agni, the god of fire, stepped forward from the blaze with Sita in his arms. Even the flowers she wore were unseen. Here is your wife, Sita, who is without blemish. She was never unfaithful in thought, word, or glance. Believe me and accept this jewel among women. Tears flowed unchecked down Rama's cheeks, and he said, I never doubted her, even for a moment. But if she had not undergone this ordeal of fire, people would have spoken ill of her and of me. I knew full well that Sita would have been protected by her purity. If I spoke harshly to her and watched unmoved when she entered the fire, it was only to clear her name before the eyes of all. He went near Sita, and looking deep into her lovely eyes, as he had been longing to do, Rama said, My beautiful Sita, how could you think even for a moment that I could have doubted you? If I was not crazy for a glimpse of your bewitching face, why do you think I faced the wrath of the demon king and risked my life? My dearest love, I did it so that none could ever point an accusing finger at you. Sita looked at him with all of her love pouring out her eyes. For a long moment they were lost to the world and gazed long and deep into each other's eyes. The Celestials told Rama to return immediately to Ayodhya, for the 14 years were drawing to a close, and Bharata was waiting for his arrival with great eagerness. So tomorrow, this is where we will continue. Rama and Sita, they are going back to Ayodhya after all the years of exile and the long battle between Rama and Ravana. So do not forget, tomorrow is a whole evening still of Ramayana, because there is a strange twist to the end. So I hope I will see you tomorrow, and I wish that all of you have a sweet evening. Ram Ram.